we'd like to thank the following sponsors.
Hello, everyone. My name is Birgit. I'm the director of glasstec, the world's leading trade show for the global glass community. glasstec is taking place every 2 years here in Düsseldorf, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today and to talk to you about the recent developments that we are taking for glasstec. With me here today is Professor Ulrich Knaack from the Technical University in Darmstadt and Delft, and together with the network from the universities of Dresden, Darmstadt, Dortmund, and Delft, he and his team is responsible for creating the innovation hub at glasstec, which is Glass Technology Live. We have a picture for you from Glass Technology Live 2018, and you see these are really the forward-thinking glass products that we present at glasstec, and by that give new ideas to the visitors of the trade show. Well, Ulrich, I'm happy to have you with us here today. How are you?
Thank you. All fine. I made it to this office, and the system is running. Always a challenge.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us and for taking the time. Well, we're here today to supply you with the information on how glasstec and the whole glass community can help you in boosting your business for the next year. Before we start glasstec in spring next year, and I can really assure you, Düsseldorf is lovely to see and to visit in spring. We want to talk to you today about the topics that we will cover next year and of course this year. So what we did with the industry, we discussed what topics would be relevant to the industry, and we had 2 think tank sessions with research institutes as well as the industry, and asked ourselves, or we came up with the question, how can the glass industry contribute in mastering the global challenges? So I know it's very far forward thinking, and with Corona now, there are some very new developments on the global challenges, but I think for the future, we will have to consider these topics, and we all agreed on these global challenges. Well, Ulrich, when we look at the global challenges, what do you think? What are the drivers for mastering these challenges, and how can the glass industry look at these topics?
It was thank you, Birgit. It was an interesting situation. I remember very well this situation when we normally go for the exhibition, the conferences. It's faster, higher. And at some point, industry came to us and said, no, we don't want that. We want to focus to the targets of our environment, our world. And these challenges, they were identified. We had these workshops, really interesting to be, pushed by academia and industry to identify what are the next challenges which we have to face to. And then we came up with this group of 5 themes, where at some points we get some arguments with colleagues, but I will explain later where we really see these are the challenges which we have to face.
Wonderful. Shall we take a look into detail what the challenges are and how we can look at them?
Yeah, I do that. This is the 2018 booth, the innovation platform, as said, very technical oriented. And I reorganized the things which we showed last time, and I'm going to comment into the things which we expect to come in 21. So first thing, climate, obvious aspect. And the first thing you think about climate and glasses, how can you make better IGU glass insulation units? How can you improve the performance of a glazing from a double glazing to a triple glazing? How can this be simple, which is an obvious result. We also had these ones, and especially like the very right one, which is a PV system and a shading device. which shows that glass can be good for gaining energy, but also you have to take care of handling the energy with shading devices. What I expect in 21 is obviously more efficiency, logic, a better performance, very logical as well. Less material, that's something which is clearly to come. And it's, say, the key target for this theme, save energy, produce energy. Glass is one of the few materials which you can use to really actively produce energy as a system. I quite like it as a target. So that's challenge number one. When I continue resources, again, what we had in the last time, glass as material, very good for recycling. I come to that later. But obviously the weight is an argument. So this is super light construction. And the left picture shows an openable window, which actually bends the glass and by that allows to have ventilation. But by using super thin glass, you actually use less material. That's a resource question. Alternative, use glass as a structural component, so get rid of other materials which you may need for structure, and use glass as a structural component because you already have it in a facade. And then obviously recycling is something which became very obvious. Glass is a nice material for recycling. It's actually one of the few materials which perfectly fits for recycling. You just boil it again and you have the same quality. That's what we saw in 2018. And what I expect for 2021, more efficiency in the material use, so preciser defining where we use what kind of material, more efficiency in the production, obviously recycling. The main target, and that's an interesting one also for industry, it's not about selling more material, it's selling more specialized material. In the end, less material, but more specialized. That's something which I think is going to be very clear, visible on this 21 session. Then urbanization. We got a lot of comments about the urbanization. Obviously, you feel like this is an industry trade show and with innovation about material. What does this has to do with urbanization? I come to this later. The first step, this is a vacuum insulation glass units from two different suppliers. I like this because this is especially with, say, refurbishment, historical buildings. This really creates an opportunity to provide that these buildings can stand longer, can be used longer, because you can do very slender, very light insulation units as a system. This one is a sample of a 3D printed sunscreen system, which allows to say identify in an urban environment where do you want to have your sun getting in, at what moments do you want to have this getting in, and where do you want to really have a focused view. What I expect for the 21 urbanization activity is compactor facades for less space, which means the facades are getting more narrow, the glass gets more narrow, and by that we gain more space. Dealing with the urban heat island effect, that's an say effect which we identify in urban environments being hard to handle and gaining a lot of energy losses, which are or energy requests, which is to be solved. But the main argument, and we all know more than half of the population of our world will live in urban environments in the next 2 or 3 decades. We just need to make space. We need to make buildings. And these buildings, they need facades and they need glass to have a view. And that's, say, a key argument for the theme urbanization. Value. Value has different levels. Interesting to identify. It's my personal value, but it's also business value, which is to be identified. A very obvious business value is the bigger you can create a glass sheet, the more you can make it special. We see on the left side a super large curved one. We see on the right part of this image is some say surfaces which are creating different shapes and different geometries and different appearance of a glass sheet, which is then used in a design. That's a value which we clearly can use. These are shading systems within glass. So there's a liquid which switches, and by that you're able to have, say, something blocked off or available or visible, which is a value which we may use for the interaction, the inner and the outer facade. Where do you see this? We will have more value in products versus more material. That's for sure something which is interesting, especially for industry. It's more about smart products and less about selling more material, which is, say, a trend you see in different materials, which clearly comes. We will have more specialized facade functions, like the one which I showed before, and that's going to get, say, deeper and deeper in it. And we will have better functionality for people. I expect in the 21 to not only have switchboard glass, but also, say, functional active glass to come. That's going to be super interesting. And then happiness. Happiness feels.
This is the one I like the most.
This is the one you like the most. We had, as you remember, Birgit, we had a lot of comments about happiness. Come on, happiness. This is a serious. No. We will see that the, say, happiness, which is linked to well-being of people, which is linked to health, is something which, is really, really important. Again, a switchable glass, which allows me to, say, create my personal environment, which makes me more happy, which makes me more healthy, more valuable. That's something which I clearly see, and I like this one because it starts getting these images on the surface, actually a tilting piece of glass being curved in a certain way, and by that then illuminated from one side was able to have a certain image to be reflected. I think this is one of the futures, very, say, individualizing systems. And what I expect to come is a defined functionality for glass and facades. We will see more products, more innovations, more ideas from designers and students, which will help us to bring special functionalities to our building envelopes, to our glass, the individualization of the building envelope and health as an, say, key aspect, as part of the happiness. And you remember, Birgit, when we were talking about happiness and we got some comments, now we know health is super important. This is something which the Corona crisis clearly brought to us. It's not about only selling more, it's also about being healthy, being well in your environment, which we define as happiness in this setup. So
and I think as well, right, with happiness, right, this is what the industry was not selling enough in the past, right? You all see, we all look at glass as a technical product, but what kind of value it actually creates for a human being, right? I mean, it connects the outside with the inside, creates light, and
view.
I think we all look at that very different now.
Yeah, I fully agree. So this is what I say would expect, what I saw in 2018, and the developments which I recently tracked, which I see to come in 21, and obviously then the next one hopefully will get the next steps to be shown. But Birgit, I know you do different things as well. So next to the brutal, realistic, one-to-one mock-ups, there's also a virtual world. So the themes,
yes, it is.
the virtual world.
We'll come to that in a minute. Maybe we can go back to the slide before, because I think, especially in these times, right, we need to discuss a little bit more on how the glass industry can actually use its benefits and promote it much better, right? And we hear here from Germany, and when I talk to the industry, that not only in Germany but the whole of Europe, the glass production, for example, is really hit badly. But on the other hand, here in Germany again, processing and crafts are not doing too bad, right? People are still investing in their housing, and with the coronavirus and the crisis, Ulrich, what do you think? How will that affect, especially on the construction market in the next year or in the upcoming 2 to 3 years?
Well, you know, I'm not a researcher in future scenarios. That's a difficult answer. And say, working in these two environments, the Netherlands and Germany, you see these huge differences in how people think in investing their budget into a house or a flat or not invest. So that's a hard one to say. But when you go back to the global themes, urbanization, there's no way not continuing with that. This is going to happen. Especially, Europe, North America, you see these developments, you see also the slow movements, but you see other continents, Africa, that's going to have a huge impact in urbanization, and that simply needs buildings. And that's going to continue, no way out, going to continue as a market. Energy is some clear aspect as well. It's not only the balancing of the price for the oil, it's also the resource we use, and the understanding that this resource is something important. And then health, happiness, it's just recalling what we said before. It's clear that the health becomes a serious issue which we're going to take care of. No way out.
All right. All right. I mean, and, with glasstec, we're covering the whole value chain, right? We talk about or present at the show glass production. We present the technologies for the processing, as well as the final end product, the glass end product and its application. We talked already about value and happiness, right? But what is your estimation on which product qualities or new functions does the glass need to take care of in the future?
As a researcher, I'm in this field, and I track who's say active in certain innovations. And you talk to industry, and you get the same kind of tone. This applied functionalities, this interaction between the screen and say the object, that's going to be something which we clearly track as an activity. I showed some of the 2018 samples, which are one color, simple technology, just on-off situation. But we all can imagine that if the say building envelope, the glass facade becomes a screen, becomes the surface I'm dealing with, then it's actually quite similar to the situation which we're now talking, but we're not talking to our screen. We may talk to the building envelope, to the facade, to the glass. And that's what I clearly see. So this adaptivity of functionality, that's something which I think is a clear trend. And that will, yeah, obviously also get into this happiness, well-being, and value as themes.
Well, I still hope we don't talk only via virtual media with each other, but also in the future then in person. But I know with your students, you're also working on new production technologies, right? You research on new production technologies. And I know everyone is very keen on finding out whether 3D printing of glass really will be possible. What do you think?
I was worried you were going to ask this. Yeah, well, the 3D printing is one of my core research fields. Two hands full of PhD students being active in that field, and they're currently free writing their theses on 3D printing of glass. So we see slow steps. We see the first developments. The objects you sometimes see, they all are very close linked to the technology, how to make it. I had very good contact to industry about these productions. 3 companies promising that they're going to make this printer now possible, and that I'm going to find the application. But still, this 1,000-degree temperature to get something dripping out of a line and then keeping it under control, that's still an interesting one.
All right, but we'll look forward to seeing that at glasstec next year. It's possible. It's by anyhow possible.
I promise to try.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Well, yeah, we just talked about virtual meetings, right? What do you think, right? I mean, we learn it. You learn it with your students as well, that you can have your lectures when the students are still at home and everybody's joining. Do you think this is the way of communicating in the future?
Yeah, we see the benefits. We all are able to somehow work at home at some time. So that's something which makes life simpler. No commuting, a lot less business trips, business travel. No 20 minutes lecture, which you need to do in San Francisco, flying in from Europe, which you can really question if this makes sense. So there's one aspect. We do the lectures with our students, and actually it worked out quite well. The downside is I miss the one which are, say, not that active, which are not proactive by themselves, which are not, which do not allow themselves to ask me something. And this coincident, that's something which I miss in this video conferencing. And that's what I'm absolutely going to miss when we're not going to have one-to-one situations at trade shows. GlassTec is a trade show. You need to meet your friends. I can meet my friends on a video conference, but I can't meet the people I don't know. And actually, a trade show is an organized coincidence. And this organized coincidence, I think, is absolutely essential for the next developments necessary. So if I'm only in my own bubble, then it's going to be too limited. I totally believe that we're going to have real time or real one-to-one situations.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I think I totally agree with you, right? It needs to be rather a hybrid format in the future, right? We will have both, but for really sharing ideas and bringing up new ideas, you need to see a person, and as well for building up trust, right? You need to have eye-to-eye contact and to see really to create a personal atmosphere. And what I learned as well is, right, especially when you try to learn reach out for new customers, that is especially difficult with just the online tools. But anyway, right, you know, we're working on it, and
I show the next slide.
We as Messe Düsseldorf, yes, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. But yeah, we work on a glasstec virtual solution just to shorten the time between now the actual date when glasstec would have taken place in October and June next year. So glasstec virtual will take place from the 20th to 22nd of October. It's a live event, and you will be able, or everyone is able to join. So maybe we can even reach out to a wider number of people everywhere in the world, people who maybe are not allowed to travel to glasstec, but I hope they then tell everyone that they need to visit glasstec in June next year in person here in Düsseldorf. But when you look at the structure of the event, right, we have 3 columns. The first one is the conference area. It's approximately 50 presentations, non-commercial, research-oriented, and put together in an agenda related to the 3 major topics of glasstec, which are glass production, processing technology, and the products and applications. And as well, of course, every presentation is related to these 5 global trend topics that we just discussed. And secondly, we have the exhibition space. So every company that is registered with glasstec 2021 is free to join the glasstec virtual. You can create your own presentation, the product presentation with videos, and can host web sessions as well. So for a visitor, you will be able to have a meeting, or let's call it a presentation, an online presentation for a new technology. You can ask your questions online, and the exhibitor or our customer can then individually contact you either with the chat when the web session is running, or even afterwards for further information. And the third column is also very important. And Ulrich, you just said it, right? It's coincident, it's people meeting, and maybe this helps to create this platform too, right? It's a matchmaking platform. Individuals register, one by one meetings are possible, and you can just search, right, for a product that you're looking for, and then you find a person who is also registered in that tool and can talk to each other. You can set up meetings in there and really discuss either with the exhibitors or even visitors one-to-one with each other. Did that make it clear, Uli? Because I know online platforms are sometimes a little bit difficult to explain, right?
Yeah, it's well, you talked about it earlier this morning when we had this other chat, and I do get it, and I do get the the professional potential, and it's going to be interesting to identify and find out how this works, how you really can get this organized coincident in a technical virtual setup done. We will see. Interesting.
Yeah, we will see. It's our first try, right? We'll go for it, but I think in combination with the real event, which we for sure will keep on continuing to plan, right, for next year in June. And Glass Technology Live is the best example, right? You need to come and see the new glass products. You need to experience the ultra thin glass and to see a construction including that. And I think this is really a mind-opening presentation, which gives you the idea as well of what you could do with glass in the future. So it's an addition, right? But it will never replace the actual real event. Anything you would like to add, Ulrich?
This is the real event after the 2020 virtual session, and that's when we're going to have say the innovations as I explained it in real life, touchable, feelable as an activity in Düsseldorf. in spring, as you said, which is nice.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you very much for everyone who joined us here today on that presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you got some insights on glasstec, either the virtual platform in October or the real event in June next year. Please make sure you have the date of glasstec 2021 in your calendar, which is the 15th to 18th of June. Wish you all great success with your business and look forward to welcoming you here in Düsseldorf next year. Until then, please stay safe and take good care. Thank you very much.